Hi, so my name is Haley Cardis, and I'll be doing my movie review on the movie Coraline. So just an overview of the movie. Coraline is a film created by Henry Selick, who also made The Nightmare Before Christmas. So he combined his expertise of using stop motion and other animation with 3D to create more of a gloomier image to match his creepy and twisted themes of this fantasy film. One way that this film is unique comes from the way it was created. So it was made using claymation, specifically termed stop motion animation, which is the process of animating characters created out of puppets or clay and moving them and photographing them one frame at a time. So for this reason, Coraline took over 4 years to actually produce and make. So Coraline bases its title on the main character of the story, who's a young girl named Coraline. The title is also very important to the theme of the book because everyone around her forgets her name, and I believe that the author's use of Coraline's name in the title is a strong contextual symbol that she finally becomes noticed later on in the film. So just a short summary of the movie, and not to give away anything. Coraline moves to a new home called the Pink Palace, which is separated into different compartments, with 3 other individuals living in the house as well. The new move is already stressful for Coraline, and because she's separated from her friends and family and having to attend a new school and everything. But on top of this, she feels neglected by her stressed out workaholic parents. When she finds a mini door in exploring the new place, she gets it opened by using a key that was hidden in a drawer, and it leads to a mirror image of her own world, but it's a different world. And in that other world, there is another, she's called the Other Mother, and she's more loving than, and same with the other father, more loving than her parents in her real world, and everything seems perfect to her in this other world. But this perfect world seems to come to an end when the real flaws, secrets, and dangers of the other world are revealed throughout the film. So for the setting of the film, the location is situated in the state of Oregon in the United States. There are 4 primary locations throughout the film: the Pink Palace, the well, and the uniform shop in the real world and the other world. Honestly, most of it's taken place at the Pink Palace, but it just goes between the real world and this other world through the door. So next we'll talk about characters. So the characters are especially important to analyze and pay attention to in this film because there are 2 of almost every character except for Coraline and the Black Cat. So for the parents, there's the other parents, and same with her neighbors and her one friend YB. So in the real world that Coraline actually lives in, all the characters are static and don't really have much of a personality. They don't really do much in the real world, really. But to highlight some of the key characters, Coraline, of course. She's an 11-year-old Michigan girl who has been dragged along by her parents to live in the Pink Palace. Coraline is first introduced as an explorer, yet she appears depressed and unhappy because she has been forced to leave her home, her friends, and while also having very neglectful parents. Overall, Coraline is a girl who loves discovering new things as she explores her new home, where she ended up finding that small door which leads to another world that she can then also explore. She's also very brave. This is demonstrated when she returned to confront the other mother in order to save the ghost children, which I'll talk about later, and her true parents, who the other mother trapped in trying to keep Coraline situated in the other world. So she's a character who underwent a lot of change and experienced a lot of growth throughout the film because she learned to be grateful in the end of the world and the relationships that she has in reality when she's reunited with her family again and after disposing of the key leading to this other world. Next is the real and the other parents. So Coraline's parents are catalog workers, and they spend so much time on their work that they do not pay enough attention to Coraline, leaving her unhappy in a new environment with no friends. So the other parents, on the other hand, are the polar opposite to her real parents, as their purpose is to amuse her and provide her with everything that she desires. To please Caroline, the other father sings, plays piano, and creates a Coraline-themed garden. And the other mother cooks all her favorite meals, makes her clothes, and loves her, which is like all things that her real parents wouldn't have done and weren't providing. However, this is all part of the other mother's scheme to trap Coraline and persuade her into staying into the other world, her world, basically, the other mother's world. Then we have the black cat. So this is the only character in the story that goes between the two worlds and doesn't have an opposite character, like they stay the same. And the cat's main role in this film is to help Coraline defeat the other mother, and the cat helps Coraline find where the other mother was hiding her real parents, and also helps Coraline to escape the other world by acting as a distraction and clawing the other mother, while Coraline was able to get the key, lock the door, and then so she could return to the real world and be back with her parents again. And the last characters are her neighbors, Mr. Bobinski, Miss Forcible, and Miss Spink. They're not really of much importance compared to the other characters, but all these characters except for Coraline that I talked about in the other world are the exact kind of people that Coraline wants them to be. They interact with her and they keep her entertained and they give her love. However, none of these things are happening for her in her actual world, in reality. All right, now I'm going to talk about style and technique. So the writing style of Coraline is simple, matter of fact, and childlike. The story is narrated from a third-person perspective, focused on Coraline Jones, which is the main character. The story is told by an unnamed narrator who gives insight into Coraline's mindset. Early on in the film, Selig presents the viewers with props that evolve into visual motifs throughout the movie. The first one introduced is the Coraline doll. Wybie, the other child that lives in the neighborhood, which soon becomes their friend, gives it to Coraline, claiming that he just found it, and it looks just like her. And I believe that Selig, the maker of the film, made this evident, and the peculiar nature of the claim and the doll itself by making the doll like identical to Coraline except for the button eyes, which was very creepy when I first saw it. I believe that this motif is representative of what the other mother intends Coraline to become, which is like silent and conforming. Many scenes feature shots of the doll in various locations spying on Coraline as she explores her new living area. Though the doll may initially present itself as not being very important or remarkable, in reality it serves as another tool of the other mother's making, one used to manipulate Coraline. Another visual motif in the film is the key to the door. And Selig introduces the key into the story world's framework and ensures that it circulates throughout the film to draw attention to the importance behind the key. The key serves as a gateway to the other world and as an escape mechanism for Caroline, just as it was for the other mother's previous victims. Although there is only one key, which is one of a kind, the other mother ensures it is always within Coraline's grasp so that she can access the other world, therefore making Coraline very vulnerable. This vulnerability continuously leaves Coraline susceptible to death at the hands of the other mother throughout the film. At the film's conclusion, Coraline is desperate to reclaim the key from the other mother and dispose of it because the key's destruction is the only way to defeat the other mother and prevent her from escaping the world or claiming new victims. One of the most notable visual motifs is the presence of having the button eyes, which all the characters in the other world have instead of actual eyes. Coraline does not get the opportunity to frequent the other world for long because the other mother strikes a deal if she wants to stay there. And the deal was Coraline must get the buttons sewed in her eyes in exchange for the treats and the attention the other mother gives and offers her. But Coraline quickly turns down this proposal, as I don't blame her. I wouldn't want buttons sewn in my eyes. But using the buttons as a motive in this way suggests that what one wants often comes with a price, I believe, and one that clearly Coraline was not willing to pay. Selig strategically introduces these series of motifs throughout the film. Although the motifs serve various purposes, the director predominantly depicts them to inform the cinematic content, and therefore, like, what I take from watching this movie is the visual motifs used to represent and reflect the danger that accompanies envy, and the main character Coraline is represented in a way that demonstrates a cautionary tale that encourages its intended audience, which is children, to be aware of strangers, forfeit their envy, and extend gratitude to the positive relationships and luxuries in their own lives by being more appreciative. Next, I'll talk about the plot and the scenes of the movie. So, key moments and scenes that stood out to me throughout the movie, and kind of like also goes along with the plot of like how the story escalates. So first, when she was exploring the new Pink Palace, she finds a small door in the new house, and she asks her other mother to open it with the key that they found in a drawer. But when they first opened it, it just led to a brick wall, so nothing special. The next night, Coraline returned to the door, and behind it, when she opened it, was actually a corridor that led to a parallel universe, but it was like a mirror image of her own, except for the characters having the button eyes. And this is where she meets the other mother and the father. And then the next scene is when Coraline returns home after being in this different universe, and she finds that her parents have been missing for 3 days, and she does come to find that the other mother has kidnapped them. And then the next one is when returning to the other world, she returns to seek to find her parents, because obviously she wants them back. But then she discovers in this process 3 ghost children whose souls were previously eaten up by the other mother, so they were previous victims, that allowed her to sew the buttons in their eyes. And then the next one is Coraline uses her protective stone given to her by her neighbors to find the souls of the 3 children so that they can be set free because they're trapped still. And she was able to locate her parents trapped in a snow globe and was able to set them free. But she wasn't able to set them free until another main scene, which is when she was able to escape from the other mother and was able to lock the door, the gateway to the other world. And to really seal the deal, she has to dispose of this key. So she did that in one of the final scenes where she tossed it down a well that came up in the beginning of the movie. And next, I'll talk about some themes of the movie. Coraline highlights the value of parents, even the ones who seem boring, in a less than perfect but very real home. It also illustrates the illusion of perfectionism versus the value of appreciating what you have. And then on the flip side, it addresses the dangers of self-absorption. So Coraline is often brushed aside by her busy parents, so she is instantly enthralled when her other parents with her other parents who dote on her. Everything her other parents do is focus on meeting her every want, her every desire, but this dream world is shown to be really empty in the end, as when she tries to run away. One of a main scene that kind of stood out, which I thought was really creepy when I used to watch when I was younger, is when she tried to run away in this parallel universe. It was just the house part of the universe. When she tried to run away, everything was white and the world slowly started to fade away. So Coraline eventually learns to appreciate even the vanities of reality, and she learns to be thankful for what she does have. So after watching this movie, even though it's been my favorite movie for a long time, but I've learned a lot from watching it, because I've watched it quite a few times, and that's why I wanted to kind of do a review on it, just because I feel like every time I do watch it, I do become more knowledgeable of what it actually means. So really how it made me feel a lot of things, but I personally love creepy fantasy films, and just because they leave you confused, that uneasy feeling, yet almost shocked in a way in many different areas. But when watching this when I was younger, I definitely felt different compared to watching it now. Because when I was young, I took this film to be scary and a bit confusing, but I still really enjoyed it. Compared to watching it now, I can understand a lot of the meaning behind the plot and the props and the motives used throughout the film. It is definitely a movie I would recommend to watch, as it makes you feel so many different things, and it has a lot of good messages and themes behind the storyline, even though it's very controversial for it being made for the intended audience that it claimed to be. I think that obviously maybe a more mature, maybe the age could be pushed a bit older, but like mature at that age. I think that there's a lot of good lessons to be learned in the film, even though it says these messages in a creepy, scary way. Well, Coraline, and lastly, Coraline is a story that ties many concepts together in a short amount of time. So therefore, every time I watched it, I noticed more and more references to something else in the movie that I did not notice the first time. And it was kind of like the same thing with the visual modus. But overall, it's definitely a film that I really like, and there is things to learn from it. And it represents it and demonstrates these themes and stuff in a very unique and cool way. Thank you.